Okay, today we're going to look at the quest for the historical Jesus. And the main text we're going to use is Abel's Reason, Faith, and Tradition. So, in chapter 2, Abel starts out by asking the question, what can we know by using the historical critical methods? What can we know about Jesus? Right? Now, again, this is a theological text, and so we are coming from the belief that God exists. And in this case, as Christian theologians, right, I'm coming at you with the idea that I believe that Jesus was fully human and fully divine, or fully human and fully God. Now, what do we mean by human? Human, we can relate that to the perceptible stuff, right? These are things that could be verified using the historical critical method. Things like archaeology, things like textual criticism. This is the use of reason applied to the things that we can see, the things that we can sense with our senses, and therefore validate by sharing with each other. So if we dig in the ground and we find certain archaeological evidence, we can show that to everyone, and then we can make conclusions based on that. So we can tell things like where Jesus lived, somewhat what he did. We can have an idea of the nature of the documents that report what Jesus did. Now, for the divine aspects of Jesus, we're talking about the way he is God, right? Or the way he is the transcendent, the source of all being that gives life to all being, right? We can't sense the transcendent. We can't prove that the transcendent exists. Now, some of us believe in the transcendent for good reason. We have reasons to believe it, including personal experience and the experience of others. But it's not like a piece of pottery that we might find in an archaeological dig. We can't point to it and say, everybody here see that? And everybody who could see would see it. No, when it comes to the transcendent, we cannot prove it because the transcendent we cannot prove its existence because the transcendent is beyond human perception. And therefore, it can't be verified by using the historical critical method or any other kind of science. So the historical critical method just means using contemporary scientific and analytic methods to try to understand some historical events or historical texts. So using the historical critical method, sometimes we may discover that some things in Scripture are symbolic, that they were not historical events, and likely were not intended to be understood as historical events, but as some kind of analogy or teaching story. However, using the historical critical method, we can also discover that some other things in Scripture or in the Bible, is another way to say it when we're talking about the Christian scriptures, were historical events, or likely were historical events, right? Things that actually happened, similar or just like it says in those passages. But the divine nature of Jesus, just like the transcendent or God or the divine itself, cannot be verified using these kind of methods, because it is not something that is immediately perceptible to the human condition. So, for example, an archaeologist could dig up dinosaur bones in the earth, and we could say, oh, look, there's dinosaur bones. Looks like there was some creature that was made out of these bones. Or who these bones belong to. You can't do that with God. You can't do that with the divine nature of Jesus Christ. Now, it would be theoretically possible, say, to find the remains of King Herod or Saint Joseph or Saint John the Baptist. We might be able to verify that person's existence. But as far as using the historical critical method, which includes archaeology, among other methods, to say whether Jesus was divine or not, you can't do it. So just a little reminder, when I'm talking about the transcendent, I'm not just talking about that which is outside of human perception, right? See, I'll have this little egg here represent the universe, the perceptible universe to human beings. Some people get the idea like, hey, if you flew to the edge of space, or if you somehow fell out, went beyond the human perception realm, you would find yourself in the transcendent. But it's out there, it's not in here. No, transcend means to climb beyond. And therefore, to go beyond, you must be within. So the transcendent is that which is in the universe. It's in, through, and beyond the perceptible universe. It's like the analogy we use that creation is in the womb of God. We're contained, we're held into existence by God. So God is in us. God runs through us. God gives us our being and connects us together, holds us in being, so to speak. But he also goes beyond the realm of our perception. So the divine nature of Christ can't be verified using the historical critical method. And again, so the HCM, the historical critical method, can't prove or disprove Jesus' divinity. Okay, so we've got that set. So what can the historical critical method tell us about Jesus's life? Well, not a whole lot. There's very little historical evidence about Jesus' life outside of Scripture, right? Outside of what the New Testament and other writings of the New Testament writings in the late first and early second centuries. There are some writings that were not included in Scripture that maybe can tell us a little bit about, give us some evidence about the historical Jesus, but those writings are probably not very helpful, even less helpful than for the most part, less helpful than the Gospels and other New Testament writings. If they were more reliable, some of them that were written early enough, some of them might be included in the Gospel, but some of these writings were not included because they didn't fit with what the apostles and other people who knew Jesus said about him. So we really don't have that much to work with.